And the passage finally ends with me having a conversation with a close friend of my maternal grandfather, a close friend of Gramps, a black man from Kansas named Frank, at the time, a fairly well-known poet named Frank Marshall Davis, who had moved to Hawaii and lived there. And so I have a discussion with him about the kinds of frustrations I'm having, and he sort of schools me on that I should get used to these frustrations. So
the only people
49 and a half minutes now after the hour, and just 8 days until the election. The man widely credited with starting the cyber rumor that Barack Obama is a Muslim is now changing his story. CNN's Jim Acosta joins me now with more on that. How about
John,
that?
He is. Andy Martin himself takes credit for making that first claim that Barack Obama was once a Muslim. But now Martin says his original claims about Obama's background are no longer true.
I have an information network that won't quit.
The man widely believed to be behind the claim that Barack Obama was born a Muslim doesn't believe it himself anymore. Internet blogger Andy Martin says he came to that conclusion on a recent trip to Honolulu, where he crisscrossed Obama's hometown to investigate the Democratic nominee's background.
His father was Frank Marshall Davis.
Without offering any proof, Martin says unnamed sources tell him Obama's real father is civil rights figure Frank Marshall Davis, not Barack Obama Sr. Doesn't this new discovery, as you're calling it, refute to a certain extent
Absolutely.
what you originally claimed
Absolutely.
about Barack Obama?
It certainly does. I mean, I'm an honest writer and an honest researcher, and I have had to say he wasn't born a Muslim anymore because I don't believe that Barack Obama Sr. is his father.
Senator Obama is a Christian, but the false rumor that he's a Muslim has gone viral on the web and even made its way into a question at a John McCain town hall meeting.
He's an Arab.
No, ma'am. Do you feel that you owe Barack Obama an apology?
No, because he hasn't told the truth to the American people.
Martin has challenged the validity of Obama's birth certificate, but here it is, posted on the University of Pennsylvania's widely respected website, factcheck.org.
They're being spoon-fed by the Obama campaign.
Since he started making claims about Obama 4 years ago, Martin's own background has been scrutinized. He's run for political office, including the presidency, roughly a dozen times.
I'm known as a person who strives for the truth.
But if you're striving for the truth, how could you get it so wrong 4 years ago?
Because Barack Obama lied to me.
The internet is a force for enormous good, but it is also a weapon that can be used to slime people.
CNN political contributor David Gergen fears the Muslim rumor could follow Obama into the White House if he wins.
If he makes a mistake or something goes wrong, then it's going to burst up to the surface and be part of a more boiling cauldron.
Was that just a smear?
Absolutely not. I've gotten a lot of flack for this latest story simply because people want to believe he's a Muslim.
Andy Martin has filed.
My mother was the biggest influence on my life. She was an 18-year-old college student from Kansas who had moved to Hawaii with my grandparents. Met my father, who was a graduate student from Kenya. So she had me. 2 years later, my father was gone, and from the age of 20 on, she essentially raised me and my sister. As a very young woman raising a child, she somehow understood that if you love a kid enough, even if you don't have a lot, if you fill their mind with a sense of wonder and joy, and you tell them that they can do anything, turns out the kid usually does okay. When I was 6, she remarried an Indonesian and we moved to the other side of the world. She ended up becoming interested in the plight of poor women, became an advocate for them. There was always that sense in her of human connection. And when I look at my values, that core belief in our common humanity and the inherent dignity of every person, that was instilled in me by my mother.
a lot of your associates on the mainland, did they view you as running away from the struggle? Or?
Yeah, they thought at first that Helen and I were running away from the struggle. They didn't realize that there was a struggle over here, which was not as big, but was just as important, to try to get labor accepted by management. You know, there were several persons who wanted to get jobs on the plantations over here, several Howleys, and they could not get that out. Management wouldn't hire them. They didn't want the Howleys working in the subservient girls.
They want to keep everything compartmentalized.
Yeah, they wanted the Howleys to be only in the top jobs and top management. And that existed for some time. For a while, too, the various trade unions here, many of the persons who were members of trade unions would not accept Howleys as carpenters or whatever it was. The Howleys could be bosses, they could be lunas, but they could not work with some of the local people.
Did these attitudes of yours get you in the same trouble here with the powers that be? In other words, did you end up having troubles with the House Un-American Activities Committee and the FBI?
Oh, yes, naturally.
What happened?
Well, you know, I had an FBI agent who I learned had been my personal agent until in the, I think it was around the early 60s. So this particular fellow one day, I was coming out of a customer's place of business, and I noticed this fellow hanging around my car. And so when I came out, he produced his credentials and said that he was from the FBI and wanted to talk with me. I said, well, I don't think we have anything to say to each other. He said, next day, a couple of days, when you take your lunch at Kapiolani Park, at that time I used to go to a stand there and buy food. I will see you there. I think we can get together. So he came out. He was accompanied by another fellow with a briefcase. I'm pretty certain the briefcase had a tape recorder in it, and the fellow who had originally asked me to see him told me that I know that you used to be a communist, but what made you change your mind? Why did you leave the party? And I said, wait a minute. If I say I left the party, that would indicate that I had been a member of the Communist Party. And I have never told anybody that. So we went on, and he was asking me something about my high school and college. And the fellow was with him cut in and told him all what I had done and where and at what time. And so finally I said, if you want to know anything, just ask your buddy here. He knows more about my life than I do.